Hey guys, Miss Warren here. I wanted to talk to y'all today about a couple of worksheets we have in class. We're going to be reviewing, because if you had me in Art 1 last year, we're reviewing the elements of art this year. So the elements of art are the basic building blocks of making art, or they're what you put on the page in order to create art. We're also going to be reviewing the principles of design. So the principles of design can be the tools to plan and organize artwork, or it could be considered how you arrange the elements of art on the paper. Okay, so what we're going to do here is that we're going to take this definition sheet with the word, the image, and the definition, and we're going to fill out this form. The definitions are a little bit different. The pictures are a little bit different, but you should be able to infer the same meaning on each one. So they're in a little bit of a different order as well. So on this one, it talks about line, has some examples of line. A line is a path made by a moving point through space. It is one-dimensional and can vary in width, direction, and length. So it's a path made by a moving point. So if you make a point and then you move it, it will show you the path that that point made. It can vary in length, direction, and width. So here, I would do, since I'm an artist, I like to think visually, so I'm gonna look at which one is drawn with just lines first. So this one is drawn with just using lines, and then it lists the variety of directions and qualities that a line can have. So a line could be horizontal, vertical, diagonal, straight, curved, dotted, broken, thick, and thin, and that talks about here can vary in width, direction, and length. So I'm going to go ahead and label this one as line. Okay. So here we have shape. Shapes are flat enclosed areas that are two-dimensional. They have length and height. So it's tall and it's wide. Artists use both geometric and organic shapes. Let's see if we can find something that is 2D and has geometric and organic. So here it's very easy to find here. So 2D or two-dimensional, flat, and it's geometric. So geometric examples would be squares, circles, ovals, triangles, and organic like all other shapes, like the shape of a leaf or the shape of a puddle or the shape of a raindrop. So this one would be shape. So obviously the next one isn't the same as what would go on here. Let's read and see what the definition is here. So color is perceived by the way light reflects off a surface. There are three properties of color: the hue, the color name, the intensity, the strength or purity, and the value, the lightness or the darkness. So let's look at something that talks about light and three different properties, and shows a picture of color. Here we have, this one has color in it. It refers to wavelengths of light, so it talks about light. It has a hue, this one has a hue, has a value, and it has an intensity or a saturation, amount of pigment. This one also talks about how color can have a temperature, can be warm or cool colors, and relates to tint, tone, and shade, which would also be the value, the lightness, or the darkness of it. So this one would be color. Okay, now since we talked about value here, lightness and darkness, we see that value describes the lightness or darkness of a surface. So this shows different values of yellow, but it can also talk about if you were just drawing in black, white, and gray. So let's look for a picture here that is black, white, and gray. Here we have the three leaves in a gradient of values, so the lightness or darkness of the image. So this would be value. A lot of people call value shading, but that's just making something darker. You also want to include the idea of making something lighter as well. Okay, so this next one here is texture. You have to look really close to see the texture in this little picture here. Texture describes the surface quality of an object. Artists use both actual texture, how things feel, and implied texture, how things look like they feel. So this one here talks about the feel, okay, that's the same. The appearance of thickness, stickiness, or stickiness of a surface. For example, smooth, rough, silky, furry. Those would all be specific examples of texture. Okay, so space. Space is used to create the illusion of depth. If you had me last year, we did that by doing three-dimensional rooms. We did 1-point linear perspective within an artwork. It can also refer to the positive and negative space between, around, or within the objects. So a positive space is the space that the main object occupies, like this little turtle, and the negative space is the area around the turtle in green. So let's see if we can find somewhere where we have the object and the background. So this one talks about here, the area around, within, or between images or parts of an image, positive and negative space that relates to perspective. So you have a similar definition. We also talked about this when we made our vase faces last year. We cut out the faces and it made the negative space, like the dark space, made a face, and the internal image made a face when we made them last year. So this would be space here. Okay. Okay, so the last one is form by elimination. Don't forget to put your name at the top of your work. So forms are three-dimensional objects, length, width, and height. I might put length, width, and depth for my definitions. That I understand it better that way. So like a shape, you could have like a square that has length and width, so it's both long and wide. But to be a form, you need depth. You need to go back into space to become a form. So forms are three-dimensional. They can be viewed at many angles, and forms have volume and take up space. So it's either a drawn three-dimensional figure or like a sculpture. So let's see, where we find that on here. So yeah, they says three-dimensional. It could be geometric, a cube, a sphere, or a cone, or organic, such as people, animals, tables, chairs, like as long as you shade them in and make them look three-dimensional. Okay, so that's the Elements of Art worksheet. This is a review on definitions with different types of pictures.